Welcome to NAMM 2017. In 1962, the Beatles invaded the US with their performance on The Ed Sullivan Show. In 2017, there's another invasion in the drum world with the launch of the British Drum Company. A drum company with lots of history and lots of pedigree, but a new brand. Come with us, have a look at their factory and meet the guys.
Keith, you're the
Hi.
CEO and the master drum builder. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
That's right, yeah. When I left school, I actually bought a drum set, a custom drum set from a guy called Alan Gilby from Richmond Drums.
Yeah.
When I got it, he kind of inspired me. I was only young, I think I was 16, 17, inspired me to kind of have a go at doing this myself. I didn't really have the opportunity to do it then, but it kind of stayed in the back of my mind. At the same time, I got a job as a carpenter. So, and then obviously working with woodwork for quite a long time as a carpenter, always having in the back of my mind, wanting to do these, you know, have a go at hand making drums. Then I moved to Manchester, got a job in a studio called Moulin Rouge, and then I was kind of doing a little bit of drum teching, doing a little bit of joining around the studio. Then what happened is I kind of met a few of the Manchester big artists there at the time who would come in. I dabbled in making some of these handmade drums, and some of these, but it was unbranded, some of these artists would come in and check out my handmade drums. I think like there was Alex Thomas from Badly Drawn Boy, and the main one was actually Pete Salisbury from The Verve. So he came in, seeing the drums that I'd made, and kind of inspired me to start up my own brand. So I think it was in 2003, I think, I started my own brand, KD Drums.
Which I've got one of those drums still.
You've got one of those drums, yeah, still in one piece, I hope. Yeah.
Is.
So, and so from there, I started my brand, KD Drums, and did that for, I think it was about 10 years. And then I was approached by another bigger manufacturer to go and work at them at the highest level I could in this company. And I was basically the head of design and head of manufacture. And then that kind of came to an end, and some opportunities presented itself for me to get involved and to start a new brand. So that's where we are today with this new brand, the British Drum Company.
Keith Keough is this. Someone should be bloody well making sure he's making drums.
Yeah.
And someone should be making sure that they're on a mainstream platform, that people get their hands on him, and that all the things he's learned and digested over the years, and his attitude to and skill in making drums is something the world needs to be able to get their hands on. And that was really how I felt about it when I spoke to him just over a year ago. We had this conversation of like, he's like, oh, something's got to happen, and I'm like, well, let's do it.
It's Al Murray. I think it was because he was the most passionate, very enthusiastic, and I didn't want somebody to just help me out and, you know, invest or whatever, and then just leave it at that. I'll give me the impression he would support us and stick around, and, you know, and be a lot more heavily involved with us. If we're going to do this, I don't want it to be a small custom drum company. I was like, I know some real good guys, and we can take this a lot further. You know, we can go into full production style drum sets like the big 5 or 6 brands that there is.
And then when the people he started bringing in, when he brought in Alan and Stu, and then when Ian came in, you just think, all right, actually, this is a good team. This is deadly serious.
So my role in the company is I am a kind of a creative springboard. You know, everyone in the company has a massive sort of foundation and experience base in what they do and what they bring to the company. So, for instance, you know, Keith has been in the business for 20 years. You have Al Kitchen, who is, you know, a global product designer. Stu, who is, you know, is specialist in march and percussion.
Ian Matthews, okay. He's a rock star. He's the drummer for Kasabian. What a guy. What people might not realise, Ian plays drums all the time. So probably while the rest of the band are sleeping, he'll be playing like a local jazz gig with some professional musician friends that he knows. He's got loads of ideas and he's experienced everything. Like he'll set up his own kits in these smaller gigs. He's got obviously a drum tech and roadies for the stadium gigs that they play. But he sees it all, studio work on many different levels. He knows what a good drum should sound like. And obviously Keith knows how to build that good drum.
As well as being, you know, Kasabian's drummer, it's the enthusiasm he brings. It's infectious onto everybody else in the company. He wants the best, and he's always keen to innovate and try new ideas. He's always come to Keith saying, "Can we do this? Can we do this?" And you know, what better person to generate new drums and new ideas than somebody from Kasabian? You can get out there, put them on the road, see what's working, see what needs tweaking. And generally, just a great ambassador, not just for the British Drum Company, but for the British drumming community in whole.
What's been really interesting is the five of us working as a kind of ideas committee, moving it forward. I mean, we're a modern company in that we do the whole thing on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, yeah.
And with CAD renderings and with 3D printing. You know, I mean, we would be what we've been able to achieve in a year. I mean, I think is extraordinary. And we've got to the point where we have our own lug and we've got our own tom bracket coming on in a minute, and all that sort of thing, which to people in the outside world, when I tell people, my friends, they're like, yeah, whatever. But I'm like, no, you don't understand. No. We're casting our own lug. This is a big deal. Yeah. But we've been able to do that in a year because of modern technology, because we've got a Facebook Messenger group that's talking to each other all day, every day, running all the decisions, running everything all at once, right? In a way that in the old days we'd have had to meet. Yep. We'd have had to tool stuff to build prototypes. We haven't had to do any of that. And so we're very, very lucky that aspect of the timing is on our side as well, that, you know, the world offers you the chance to make these decisions quite quickly and to get into design, I think, more easily. Although, obviously, you've still got to have the right ideas. You've still got to have good ideas. You know what I mean? It's all very well. This is all very well, but I mean, I think, you know, the stuff Alan's designing for us, the tooling and the metal parts, and really exciting. It's really exciting.
Played in lugs, or concept F7 as it was. We went through many different versions and concepts of lugs to try to find our own identity. A lot of the original concepts were very modern, and we kind of felt they're going to get dated really quickly. It was clear we liked a lot of lugs, classic lug design. And it became apparent that this design, what we all actually liked, was Art Deco. Art Deco, and then a little bit of streamlining that came in later on in the 30s. So I put together a couple of mood boards where we just collect images, all different Art Deco things. There were hood ornaments for cars, there were trains, there were just different products and architectural features of that time, of that period. And we numbered them all. And the idea was that all the team looked at these different images and we tried to get little details, little subtle hints of what maybe we could lift from the forms of them to put into our lug design. And it got built up and built up. We went through from C, D, E, F and multiple iterations of these until F was one we all liked, and we developed that further to F-7, which is a single lug. That's the single lug. It's important that we design that first. That's your bread and butter, that single tom lug. And then it gets mirrored subtly to make the double lug for the snare drum, and mirrored and extended for the longer lug for the lounge kit. And the bass drum is a proportionately sized version of the tom lug. It has to be a little bit taller for all the tension rods to run nice and perfectly in line on that Legend kit.
I think one of the things I've learned in the years of being a comic and doing the pub landlord character is that you stick with a brand and you hang on to it and you trim the edges, but you know, when you've got the thing that's working, you stick with it, you know. And that maroon blazer of mine, the way we've run that for the last 20 years is very much a thing I think I've learned and I can bring to this.
Well, how important do you think it is that it's the British company?
Well, I think there is a moment now for someone to step up and be a mainstream British manufacturer in drums. We have an amazing tradition of drum making in this country, and one that can't be left to the Americans and can't be left to the Japanese, right? I mean, but what has happened in the last 4 decades is that tradition's been matched and possibly lapped by American drum making and Japanese drum making. But there's no reason that there shouldn't be a mainstream British drum manufacturer with its feet on the ground, speaking to the world in the quality of the drums it's making. And that's sort of our ambition is to be that, because there's room for that, and I think there's a desire for that too. I mean, we have had a wonderful year of people being incredibly positive about us.
Yeah,
it's been really heartwarming. It's been a really amazing thing to experience. Actually, is how behind us people are and how into the drums they are. I mean, of course, if the drums weren't any good, that wouldn't last.
That's right.
But it's been a really brilliant experience, actually.
So how did you come about the name of the British Drum Company?
All of us involved in this company are obsessed with the British drum industry, the British drum scene, the community of British drums, and we all love all the British drum heritage that there is. We love all, Premier, Beverley, Ajax, and we tried to think of all kinds of names what was themed around British heritage. Eventually it would just boil down to, why not just call it the British Drum Company? And also we kind of wanted, we loved the way, Beverley had one letter to identify the brand, Premier had one letter to identify the brand. So it's just kind of a collection of all the classic British companies all kind of merged into one, was where we got our initial inspiration from.
Tell me about the different snare drums and how they came about.
So we've got 3 models of snare drum. The first one is the Bluebird. I'd always liked the name Bluebird for a snare drum. I think it's a very elegant, sort of flowing name. The second snare drum we've got is the Big Softy. That's kind of named, but basically says what it does on the tin. I developed this snare drum which sounded really soft and deep. And I'd sent it down to Ian to test it out, and he just kept referring back to it as the Big Softy.
I pretty quickly found out that this drum was going in the exact right direction for studio work. In a lot of cases, drummers want to crank a snare drum up higher for live situations, but in the studio you do tend a lot to need to find a low fat sound from a snare drum that's behaving. It's not kind of letting off too many overtones. The more you muffle the drum, the more you kind of choke its character. And we discovered a drum that was able to behave beautifully in a studio and give you no interference at all with what you're trying to do. And also I've been able to try that snare drum out live as well, and actually yes, it reacts beautifully to a live environment. It's a very well behaved drum. And so me and Keith work really quite closely with that. And the Big Softy, because it has a big soft sound, and I couldn't stop calling it the Big Softy, which made everyone else laugh, and it's actually, we'll call it the Big Softy.
Then we've got the Merlin snare drum, which I'll explain in more detail about the Merlin.
Merlin is like a range of snare drums. You can get this bad boy in any size you like. So it's 20 ply, 20 incredible plies. It's a blend of birch and maple with a 45-degree bearing edge. It's done in one finish at this moment in time. Looks lush. It's got inlays all the way around it. 10 lug, obviously in the 14-inch size. It sounds wonderful. Good control, good crack to it. It's just another great Keith creation. And with the palladium lugs on it, it just lifts the whole appearance. It's a lovely drum.
Straight away, right from the moment we sort of founded the company, there was already some ideas in place. Keith already had the idea for the Lounge series, and he already had the idea for the Bluebird snare. But we still had to straight away, dream up of a name for our principal kit, which is now called the Legend series. And the finishes, and we decided pretty early on that we wanted to get away from the normal language of the drum industry, you know, the custom this, custom that. We wanted to stand aside or apart from that.
Again, working on the British Heritage was to get a colour, so gloss white, and then combine it with a famous town or street or a city or whatever in the UK. So our gloss white we call Piccadilly white. Our white marine pearl we call Windermere pearl. We have just our matte black finish is Kensington night. And yeah, we have one of our most popular finishes, the Whitechapel. It just adds a little bit of just attention to detail, a little bit of that little extra thought into the finishes. We've got the pinstripe, which is the executive.
Yep.
A very popular one is the Carnaby Rock and the Carnaby Slate that we do. One really lovely bit of detail we do as well in the Legend kits is if you've got a Carnaby Slate outer finish, when you look on the inside of the drum shell, it has a Carnaby Slate reinforcement ring.
Right.
So it's just a really nice touch.
So let's talk a little bit about the future of the company. I know marching, Stu with the marching is a big part.
Well, yeah, because that's what we're also, you know, we've got drum kits and we've got snare drums, but marching is very much a big part of our plans for next year, for the second year of the company, because Stu has spent his life in the Royal Marines Corps of Drums. Is one of those people who can, you know, read fly shit. A quite amazing snare drum technique. And you say, oh, right, okay, this is a whole different universe. With Stu's guidance, really, we're very much involved in finding a marching snare drum for marching and pipe drum bands, and because that's the other aspect of this whole world that, I mean, sometimes I think doesn't occur to people that's out there, and it's huge.
And it's a huge market.
And it's a huge educational market. It's a huge way of getting people into drums and getting people into drumming, and you know, it's where your Steve Gadd using inverted paradiddles and everything originates, is that whole marching tradition. So we're very much by the summer we'll have a marching drum up and running, and hopefully people will dig it.
My role in the British Drum Company is the marching side of it. It covers a few aspects. We've got the traditional side of the marching, which is like a very British military style, military bands or youth cadet bands. And then we're also going to encroach on the pipe band side of things up in Scotland and Northern Ireland. And then we've got the drum corps scene, which is also in the UK, which is very American style type of marching, different types of drums. The construction's completely different. It's a completely different setup. Even within the three types of marching drums out there, it's different. So a traditional marching drum generally has a parallel top and bottom snare. Quite a bit of tension goes on them. And then you go to the Scottish pipe band drum, which is Kevlar heads, which is really cranked down. The tension on that's unbelievable, which has got a fixed top and bottom snare. And then you move across to the drum corps side of it, the American style, and that's just got a bottom snare only and no top snare. What we have on our lounge kits, on the bass drum, the lounge kits, that will feature heavily in our traditional marching drums. That'll be the lug we'll be using. So for the what we call our traditional range, that'll have snare drums, bass drums, and tenor drums, and the same for pipe band. Being from a military background, I think there's no better place than to have the drums played in the centre of London. All the tourists can see them, or in the forecourts of Buckingham Palace. What an honour that would be.
We are what we are. You know, this is a very British company. You know, we are trying to, you know, continue with the great tradition of the British drum building in this country and the heritage of the music that's come from this country. You know, we have our workshops here in Manchester, in Stockport, and you know, that is what we are. That is our identity. There's no getting away from that. We are a British company.
I know that, you know, these are cold pressed laminate shells made in England. You know, and you can't argue with that quality. I mean, you really can't. And I think that's the thing that's happened in British manufacturing as well. It's not the bad old days of shonky stuff we used to make. You know, the stuff that's at the top now that's popped through is desired worldwide and because it's world standard. But that's what's so exciting about working with Keith, is he breathes drums. He's a drum whisperer. He's a wood whisperer. The man knows how these woods are going to behave. I mean, this big softy snare drum here, which is one of our three, you know, higher end snares. What he's done with that, the wood in that,
Yeah.
the way he came to that design, you just sort of think, well, this is a guy who gets it on a level that, you know, that I never ever will. I mean, it's a privilege working with an expert like that. Sometimes when they're talking about brackets and snare mechanisms,
Yeah,
they're like,
I just want to hit it.
I just want to hit the bloody thing.
Yeah. But it's obviously, I'm sure, that it's made you look a lot more at the older.
Oh well, no. What it's got me doing is when we're on tour. I always used to go into drum shops, but I go in with a different attitude now. And I'm always like, hey, have you heard about the? I get into that, and I'm also looking at everyone's flipping lugs.
Right.
I've become a lug scientist. I mean, while we were designing these Palladium lugs, I've looked at so many lugs and I've got quite strong opinions on them now, which is something I didn't. I mean, I love drums, but I'd never got into the train spottering end of it. But it's all really interesting though.
I know what's next for the British Drum Company in the next year, because we're currently designing it, and there's some things getting tooled up at this moment as well. Again, complements the Palladium series, tom holders or tom blocks. So everything on the shelves will be ours. It'll be our own design. Marching drums is where we're going to in the next year. We're looking at innovative parallel action strainer that we've got great high hopes for, and I'll keep Stu happy as well. Stu's ready to go with all the marching gear.
So the ITAP is, within a short space of time, is actually our best selling product. I came up with the idea of this I was sitting on my laptop, and I was tapping to the side of me. I had an iPad, and there just so happened to be a snare wire kind of hanging off it, and it was kind of vibrating. And I literally just thought, I'm going to put a snare wire in an iPad, something similar to an iPad. So we produced this. I think it was the third attempt at getting it right with how the snare drums lie, and yeah, we're very happy with it. We made it the size of A4, so it's very easy for people to post out and to store. It's very easy to store for therapy groups, education, and I'm thrilled and shocked at how well the ITAP has done in such a short space of time.
It struck me about a year ago at the London Drum Show last year. I felt like I was in another band. Just like it felt like to being, feels like to being Kasabian, the mission that we're on together, building that, as we built that band up. I feel exactly the same with this company, with Alan, Keith, and Stu. It feels like we're all together, and I get immense pride from coming to the workshops and I never expected it, particularly in my life, for this opportunity to happen. And the amount of pride that I feel when I stride out on stage playing our drums, that I know that I've been a part somewhere in the development of those drums, and I know the people who've made those drums, and for me it's magical. It's literally magical feeling to do that.
To be part of it is, for me, I almost still can't believe it after a year. But I get a chance now to design drums, which has always been my passion. It's a different ball game. And you're doing this with like a master drum builder, a rock star, a Royal Marine, and a first-rate TV personality is out of this world. And because we've got this one thing in common and this one goal, and we're all focused on the same goal, to produce these incredible drums and make them here in the UK, it's our life. It's great to be part of it. Absolutely fantastic.
Our motto is the idea that we have a duty to quality, and I think what we're trying to do is reflect and take into the future the really rich history of drum making we have in the UK.
I hope you enjoyed our movie, meeting the guys and the history behind the British Drum Company, a drum company that has got a great future going ahead. It's getting loud now from the NAMM show, as you can hear, so thank you very much, and go out and check your drum stores and check out these great drums, the British Drum Company.